The night sea whispers softly to you, as if it knows your name but not how to say it aloud. You stand at the edge of the quiet shoreline, where silver waves lap against your bare feet and the air carries the faint scent of salt and secrets. The sky above you is thick with clouds, yet a strange hush sits in the air, like the pause between heartbeats. In the distance, where land gives up trying to reach the horizon, a lighthouse stands. Or did it just appear? Its tall, stone body looks old but unweathered, smooth, pale, quiet. The strange thing is, it shouldn't be there. You've walked this stretch of beach 100 times, when the world felt too loud, when dreams felt too heavy to carry, and the lighthouse has never once existed before tonight. And yet there it is. A faint beam, not white but a soft pearlescent glow, slices gently through the fog. It does not scan the sea like a searching eye. It simply glows, steady, as though it knows exactly where you are. And perhaps it does. You don't remember when you started walking toward it, only that each step forward feels like falling upward, light, slow, surreal. The sand beneath your feet cools with every step, as though the closer you get to the lighthouse, the more the world quiets itself. No one told you to come. There are no signs, no footprints, and yet something inside you moves with the rhythm of recognition, as if part of you has waited for this moment without ever knowing it. The shoreline narrows into a craggy path of rocks and dark seaweed, slick with evening dew, but the light above, glowing from the high tower, never flickers. It seems to pulse with your breath, as if it isn't simply guiding you, but reflecting you. You walk more slowly now, not from fear, but reverence. The wind grows still. You reach the base of the lighthouse. It's tall, taller than any you've ever seen, and its walls hum faintly when you place your hand against them, like a large creature asleep and dreaming. The door is arched, wooden, and set into the stone like it grew there. No knob, no lock, but as you press your fingers gently against it, it opens, not outward or inward, but aside, like a sigh parting from lips. Inside, it's warm, not the heat of fire or sun, but the kind of warmth that comes from being remembered. The floor is polished wood, smooth and silent under your steps. Light fills the tall shaft in the center of the tower, spiraling upward like mist rising in slow motion. There's no visible source, no bulb, no flame, no filament, only that same strange glow, steady and soft. You hear a faint ticking. To your right, a clock, built into the wall, but not just one, dozens. Small clocks, large ones, all with mismatched faces, some with numbers missing, others with hands pointing in impossible directions. None of them are synchronized, yet together, they sound like rain against a roof in the distance, chaotic, but comforting. You move slowly up the spiral staircase that clings to the inside of the tower. Each step creaks gently, but not in protest, more like greeting. With every upward movement, the air shifts, thicker somehow, but not oppressive. You feel your memories stir, like leaves being lifted in a soft breeze. You don't know what they are. Not exactly, but they tug at you gently, like threads from an old sweater. As you near the top, you see the lens. It floats, not sits, floats, suspended in the center of the room, spinning ever so slowly, emitting that pearly light. It hums, quietly, like a lullaby sung from a far-off place you once knew well but can't quite name. Around it, shelves, not books, but objects. Simple things. A silver spoon, a child's glove, a pressed flower, a tiny note, and then you see yours. You don't know how you know it's yours. You just do. A small paper boat. Its edges are curled from age. You don't remember folding it. But as soon as you see it, a breath catches in your chest and something inside you sinks. The paper is yellowed and delicate, but you can still faintly see the ink. Scribbled words, written in your handwriting, though you don't recall the message. You reach out. As your fingertips touch the boat, The lighthouse sighs. The sound isn't mechanical. It feels alive. All around you, the glow warms, shifts, and for a moment, dims. Not in loss, but in invitation. Like a deep breath in. You sit down, cross-legged on the wooden floor, holding the boat, and something inside you begins to settle. Not because you found an answer, but because the ache that's been quietly humming inside you for so long has finally been noticed. The lighthouse shines only for the lost. And tonight, it found you. You sit there, cradling the paper boat in your hands, as if it might crumble if you breathe too harshly. It's so light, lighter than anything you've ever held, and yet the weight it carries presses gently on your chest. Like a forgotten sigh, the ink, faded and blue, swims just beneath the surface of the paper like veins. You can't read the words, not quite, but you feel them. Each curve of each letter hums against your skin. They feel like something you once promised. Long ago. The lens above you turns slowly. With every silent revolution, the room softens, not in color, but in memory. You begin to notice things you hadn't seen before. Objects resting on the shelves not as relics, but as witnesses. Every one of them feels familiar, though none of them are yours. You wonder if they belong to other people who once came here. People like you. People who had lost something important but couldn't quite name what it was. A pair of ballet shoes, worn smooth at the toes. A stone with a child's drawing scratched into it. A harmonica. A locket with no photograph. A list of names, none of which ring a bell. And yet you want to whisper them aloud. They all sit in silence, as if resting after a long journey. Nothing here is trying to be understood, it simply is. And that, somehow, is enough. You gently set the paper boat back in its place. When you do, the entire room seems to exhale. Not dramatically, just quietly, like someone settling deeper into their blankets. You walk to the edge of the room, where narrow windows peer out at the ocean. The beam of light from the lens still glows outward, but now you can see it doesn't light up the sea. It never has. Instead, it passes over the water like moonlight on skin, gentle. Not meant to guide, but to remind. The beam doesn't shout for attention. It waits to be noticed. And only those who have forgotten something important, something about themselves, ever do. You look down. The shoreline below is calm, flat like glass, and reflects the light as if it, too, remembers. You wonder how many people have walked this beach, unknowingly calling to the lighthouse. Perhaps some came here thinking they were looking for answers. Perhaps others didn't even know they were lost, only that something in them had gone quiet, and they missed the sound. And now you're here. You step back from the window and notice something new. A door you hadn't seen before. Tucked behind a curtain of blue fabric. It's smaller than the others. Barely tall enough for you to step through without ducking. You pause, then, gently, open it. On the other side is a room. Circular like the one you're in, but darker. Not in a frightening way. Just quieter, dim, except for a soft golden glow that comes from countless tiny lights floating in the air like fireflies. No shelves, no stairs, just a cushioned bench, curved with the walls, inviting. You sit. Immediately, the lights begin to shift, slowly weaving through the air in front of you. One by one, they hover closer, and inside each one, you see a scene. Not a dream, not exactly a memory, but something in between. You see a version of yourself, smaller, younger, still learning how to hold sadness without dropping it. You watch as that younger you stands in a school hallway, clutching a paper note they wrote but never delivered. You don't remember what it said, but you remember the weight of the words. How heavy they felt in your pocket. How you never threw the note away. You folded it into a paper boat and set it adrift in the gutter after a rainstorm. The memory dissolves. Another light floats toward you. A new scene. A quiet kitchen. Someone across the table from you, smiling. Patient. A question in their eyes. You were too tired to answer it. or too hurt. You don't recall the conversation, only the silence that followed you home that night. One by one, the lights continue. Each carries not pain, but pieces. Tiny forgotten pieces of you. The you that stayed behind in unspoken sentences. The you that wandered off in long silences. The you that never knew how to say, "I'm sorry," or "I miss you," or "Please stay." And as you watch, you feel something unexpected. Not sorrow, not guilt, but warmth. Because each scene, no matter how unfinished, feels understood now. Seen, held, not judged, and in some quiet corner of yourself, you begin to believe that perhaps the lighthouse didn't appear to fix you. It appeared to remind you that you were never broken. The lights around you begin to drift upward now, slow as snowflakes, rising back into the air, dissolving into golden dust. You watch them go with a gentle kind of gratitude. They were never meant to stay. They came only to be seen, to be honored. You rise slowly from the bench, not because you must, but because you feel ready. You step back into the main chamber of the lighthouse. The beam still turns, the clocks still tick, but something feels different now. Lighter, quieter. You place a hand on the railing and look up once more at the glowing lens. And for just a moment, just long enough to notice, you see someone else in its reflection. Not behind you, not above, but within. You don't flinch, you simply smile, because whoever they are, they're not a stranger. They're a part of you, returned. You remain still for a while, hand resting on the railing, gaze softened by the light. There is no urgency here, no clocks pushing you forward, even though they tick all around. It's as if this place lives outside of time, not defying it, but gently declining its pressure. When you finally move again, it's not because you feel you should, but because you're curious. You descend the spiral staircase, step by creaking step, and notice for the first time that the walls are not blank. Etched faintly into the stone are markings, not letters, not numbers, but lines, spirals, and swirls that seem to shift when you look away, like the tide pulling thoughts back into itself. They don't tell you a story the way books do. They hum a story, one your bones seem to understand before your mind does. At the base of the stairs, the lighthouse's wide wooden floor greets your steps like it remembers them. The paper boat still rests on its little shelf, glowing faintly under the soft spin of the lens. You think about taking it with you. You think about folding a new one. But somehow, you know, it's not meant to leave this place. It's not meant to return to the sea. Its journey brought you here. And now, its work is done. You turn back toward the open door, stepping out into the night again. And something is different. The fog that once draped across the shoreline like a sleeping blanket is lifting. Not all at once, not dramatically, but gently, as though it's been holding its breath and has finally decided to exhale. You walk down the rocky path, the lighthouse's glow still brushing your shoulders like a soft shawl. The sand beneath your feet feels warmer than before, even though the night air still holds its cool hush. The ocean, too, seems more relaxed, less like a question, more like a presence. You don't need to understand it. You only need to stand beside it. You find yourself pausing near the shoreline, not because you're lost again, but because something tugs at your attention. There, nestled where the tide kisses the shore, is a shell. At first glance, it looks like any other, pale, curved, slightly chipped, but as you pick it up, you notice it isn't smooth like sea-worn shells usually are. It's textured, ridged with what feels like words. Not carved, not etched, more like grown into the shell itself. You press it gently to your ear, expecting the old sound, the hush of ocean trapped inside. Instead, you hear something else, a voice, yours, but younger, softer, not afraid, but unsure. You hear it say something simple. Do I matter? The voice isn't desperate, just wondering. And then, a silence. And then, another voice answers. Older, wiser, quieter, still yours, but from another time, even when you forget yourself. The light never does. You lower the shell and hold it in your palm for a long while. You don't cry, not because the moment doesn't deserve it, but because your body chooses stillness instead. Sometimes, silence says more than any tears ever could. You tuck the shell into your pocket. Not to keep it, just to carry it a little longer. The path back down the beach feels shorter somehow, even though the waves still roll with the same rhythm. The lighthouse behind you continues to glow, not for you now, but for someone else, someone still wandering, someone not yet ready to call themselves lost, but drifting all the same. And you wonder, did someone once stand where you stood, holding their own small memory, climbing those same spiral stairs, seeing themselves in the glow? You suspect the answer is yes. You glance back once. The tower stands silent but warm, a quiet witness in the night. You smile, not a goodbye. Not really, just an acknowledgement, like bowing gently to a friend before parting ways. And then, from the corner of your eye, you see it, far down the beach, a figure, still, small, alone. They don't see you, not yet, but you see them pause, staring up at the lighthouse. The beam passes slowly over them, and in that moment, they are lit from within. Just like you were, just like all of you are. When the lighthouse finds you, you don't walk toward them. You don't need to. This isn't a place where answers are given. It's a place where they are remembered. Instead, you walk on, back toward the world, not the same world you left, but one that now carries the soft echo of what you found. Inside your pocket, the shell hums faintly, and behind you, the lighthouse continues to shine. Not like a warning, not like a beacon, but like a gentle hand resting on the shoulder of anyone willing to pause and feel it. You breathe in, and for the first time in a long while, you feel found. Morning doesn't come in a rush. It comes slowly, like a shy visitor knocking softly at the edges of your world. The sky shifts from the color of slate to a pale, pearled blue. The stars retreat, not in fear, but in quiet trust, trusting that their watch is over. For now, you walk along the beach with no clear direction, but with a different kind of certainty. Not the kind that demands explanations or maps, but the kind that lives quietly in the soles of your feet. In the way you carry your breath, you are no longer searching. You are remembering. The tide leaves behind small gifts, twigs braided by the sea, stones smooth as lullabies, fragments of coral pale as faded music. You pick one up without thinking. Hold it between your fingers. It's simple, irregular, unremarkable, and yet it feels important. You carry it without needing to know why. Not far ahead, you notice something new. A weathered bench sits in the sand, half buried as if it grew there. It's not part of any path, not built for a view, just placed there, waiting for someone who needs to stop walking, if only for a little while. So you do. The wood is warm from the touch of dawn, and the air holds that stillness only morning knows. You sit, and you breathe. You hadn't realized how tightly your thoughts had wrapped around each other. How many unfinished questions you'd been carrying like pebbles in your pockets. Here, they loosen, like knots softening in water. Your eyes drift to the horizon. The lighthouse is a distant silhouette now. Softened by light, you can barely make out the top of the tower. The beam, still faintly visible, turns like a lullaby that never ends. You wonder how many others see it. How many others mistake its glow for a trick of the eye. How many people are still walking, still wondering, still waiting to be found without ever knowing they were lost. You close your eyes, and just beneath your eyelids, a memory stirs. Not loud, not vivid, just gentle. You are sitting in a different place, years ago. Another bench, another morning, someone beside you, their voice, low and quiet. Sometimes, they had said, the things we lose aren't taken. They just walk ahead of us and wait. At the time, you didn't understand. Now, you do. That version of you. The one who folded pain into silence. The one who didn't know how to ask for softness. Maybe they hadn't vanished. Maybe they just walked ahead, up the winding path to the lighthouse, and waited until you were ready to sit beside them again. You open your eyes and find the beach still there. But something feels closer, like you're not alone. You turn your head gently, and you see them. Not a stranger, not a ghost, but you, younger, perhaps, or just quieter, sitting beside you, hands folded in their lap, eyes forward, no fear, no questions, just presence. You don't speak, you don't need to. For a long moment, the two of you sit in silence. Then they turn to you, softly, like a memory waking up, and smile. It's the kind of smile that says, I knew you'd find your way back. You want to say thank you. But again, words feel unnecessary. You simply nod, and the nod is enough. They rise. You do too. And just like that, they begin to walk down the shoreline, barefoot, easy, unhurried. You watch them go, not with sorrow, but with reverence. Because you know something now. They are not leaving you. They are becoming you. You turn to the sea. The waves continue their steady breathing. The wind brushes your shoulder like an old friend. The lighthouse, still distant, glows on. Its light steady, but no longer necessary. You understand now. The lighthouse does not appear when you are lost. It appears when you are ready to return. Return to yourself. Return to the quiet knowing that has always lived inside you. Return to the place where you no longer need answers to feel whole. You reach into your pocket and feel the shell. Still there, still warm. Not a relic, but a reminder. You hold it in your palm. Then gently place it on the bench. Let it wait here. For someone else. For another wanderer who will one day sit here and ask the same quiet questions you once did. The wind stirs the sand as you step away. The day is beginning, soft and slow. But you are beginning too. And for the first time in a long while, you do not walk forward with the weight of what is missing. You walk forward with the memory of what has been found. You leave the bench behind without looking back, not because you've forgotten it, but because it's already become a part of you. Just like the shell, just like the glow of the lighthouse. These things don't live in places anymore. They live in your quiet. The shoreline stretches ahead, a ribbon of soft sand and broken shells. Above you, the clouds are loosening, unraveling like threads of cotton, revealing a sky the color of pale linen. The light is kind. It doesn't blind. It simply arrives, softly laying itself across your shoulders like a shawl someone long ago knitted just for you. You walk, not toward something, not away from anything, just forward. A seabird cries overhead, but its call doesn't break the silence, it completes it. Like punctuation in a long letter written to yourself. For the first time in a long while, you feel that your pace is your own. Not driven by escape, not fueled by search. You walk not to find, but to feel. The soles of your feet learn the shape of the land. The wind becomes a familiar voice. And time? It forgets how to count here. After a while, you come across a tree. It shouldn't be here, not this close to salt and sea. But there it stands, crooked but rooted, growing where things usually don't. Its bark is pale and smooth, like it was carved by water. Its branches reach sideways, not up, and from them dangle little strips of cloth. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They flutter softly, not with urgency, but with patience. You approach and see that each strip bears writing, words, names, single letters, quiet thoughts scrawled in faded ink or pressed by trembling fingertips. Some are torn, others neatly tied. No two are the same. A memory stirs in you. A ceremony you heard about once, or maybe dreamed. A ritual where people write their grief, their wishes, their apologies, and offer them to the wind. not to forget, but to release. You step closer and gently reach out to touch one of the cloths. It's cool and damp, like early morning. The ink is mostly washed away. But what remains isn't the words. It's the weight of letting go. You find a small stone nearby, flat, dry, wide enough to rest in your palm. And without thinking, you kneel, take a thin reed from the base of the tree, and draw on the stone. Not words, just shapes, curves, spirals. Your fingers move before your mind catches up. When you finish, you press your forehead against the stone for a moment, then place it gently at the foot of the tree. You don't need to leave your story here, only your permission to not carry all of it. As you rise, the breeze brushes against your neck, light as a sigh. The tree says nothing. It doesn't need to. It has already accepted what you brought. You walk again, not lighter, not heavier, but clearer, like a stream that has stopped trying to rush and simply flows. Far ahead, the land changes. The sand turns to soil, the soil into grass. The beach gives way to soft hills, dotted with wildflowers that bloom like whispers. You find a narrow trail, barely a path, more like a suggestion. It winds through the tall grass like a thought unspoken, yet deeply understood. And so, you follow it. Here, the world feels softer. No edges, just layers. Petals brushing against your fingers. Sunlight sliding through blades of green. The hum of insects. The gentle yawning of the earth as it wakes beneath your steps. You find yourself humming. Not a song you remember. Not a melody you were taught. Just sound. Yours. Rising from somewhere deeper than memory. You follow it to a clearing. And there in the middle sits a small pool of still water. Perfectly round. No ripples. No debris. Just stillness. It mirrors the sky above so clearly you hesitate, unsure if you're about to step into water or fall into air. You kneel beside it and peer into your own reflection. But what you see isn't just your face. It's every version of you that ever looked into a mirror and wondered, is this who I truly am? You see the tired eyes of nights spent overthinking, the furrowed brow of moments you wished you had said something, but didn't. The faint smile from a memory that arrived without being asked. The small, almost invisible scar that no one else noticed, but you always touched when you needed grounding. They're all here, not watching you, waiting for you. You cup the water in your hands and bring it to your face. It's cool and clean and carries no taste. But as it touches your skin, something inside you softens, as if your body remembers how to be gentle to itself again. You sit back and close your eyes. There is no noise, no message, no revelation, just presence. And presence, you now know, is enough. You stay there a while, letting the world settle around you like a blanket. And when you finally rise, you leave the clearing behind without marking it. Because this place wasn't meant to be found again, only to be visited, once, when the time was right. You walk onward, the grass brushing your calves, the scent of wildflowers trailing in your wake. And far behind you, the lighthouse glows still, not for you now, but for someone else, someone who hasn't arrived yet, someone whose silence is slowly becoming a song. You wander through the tall grass, guided not by signs, but by something softer, something like instinct, or maybe memory's quiet echo. The ground beneath your feet shifts gently, turning from soft earth to patches of old cobblestone. Moss grows between the cracks, cushioning your steps like it's been waiting for you. The air here is different, cooler, thinner, as if this part of the world holds its breath more often. Just to listen to what isn't being said. Up ahead, you spot a gate. It's not tall or ornate, just iron, slightly rusted, half open, the kind of gate that was never meant to keep anyone out, only to slow them down. A gentle pause, a threshold. You step through without hesitation. On the other side, you find a garden. It isn't neat, not symmetrical, not pruned into perfection. It grows the way dreams do, quietly, unpredictably, and always in layers. Lavender leans into rose bushes. Vines stretch across stone walls with the curiosity of children. Tiny lanterns hang from the trees, unlit, but filled with dried petals, feathers, and scraps of parchment. You wander deeper. The air is filled with the scent of thyme, sage, and old rain. And then you notice the statues. They are tucked into corners, resting under trees, nestled between flowering hedges. Each one is different. Some kneel, some recline, some stand tall with arms outstretched, like they're waiting to be embraced. And every statue wears your face. But not just the face you wear now. You see younger versions of yourself, childlike, unsure, curious, older versions, too, weathered, thoughtful, eyes that have seen grief and still soften. Some versions wear expressions you've never allowed yourself in waking life. Joy without caution, sorrow without shame, wonder without need. You walk among them, and none of them frighten you. Instead, they feel familiar, like dreams you almost remembered when you woke up, but couldn't quite keep hold of. Each statue holds something in its hands. A book, a lantern, a letter, a simple stone. You pause before one that sits cross-legged on the ground. Its expression is calm, almost amused, as if it knows something and is in no rush to explain it. In its lap rests a mirror. You crouch beside it. At first, the mirror reflects only your face, the version you carry today. But then, like breath on glass, it begins to shimmer. And the image shifts. You see a memory, not one you recall vividly, but one you feel. You're sitting at a table, head resting on folded arms. It's raining outside. No one speaks. There's a warmth in the room, but not from fire. It comes from presence. Someone is near. You don't see them, but you know they're there. You blink. The mirror clears, and for the first time, you notice a small inscription etched into its silver rim. It reads, "Even the forgotten versions of you still love you." You don't touch the mirror. You don't take it with you. You simply sit with it for a few minutes longer, long enough to let that truth settle. Long enough to feel the ache of it soften into something gentler. Then you rise, and continue walking through the garden of selves. Eventually, the cobblestones return. You follow them past ivy-covered walls, past soft pools of sunlight that collect on the ground like spilled gold. The path narrows and leads you to a wooden gate. This one is closed, but on it, carved in quiet lettering, is a message: take nothing with you but what no longer needs to be held. You pause. You feel the weight in your chest. Not heavy, just present. Then you breathe in and out. And as you do, you feel something unfasten inside you. Not break, not vanish, just loosen. You open the gate and step through. Beyond it, the world opens again. No garden, no path, just open sky, rolling hills, and a gentle breeze carrying the distant scent of salt and something sweeter beneath it, like honey warmed in sunlight. You close your eyes and let the breeze wrap around you. Somewhere far away, the lighthouse turns. Its beam sweeps slowly, without rush or demand. You don't turn back. You don't need to. Because now, you carry the light within you. And you understand, the lighthouse isn't a place. It never was. It's a moment, a turning point between forgetting and remembering, between wandering and arriving, between being lost and becoming whole again. You walk into the open. The sky expands above you. The hills welcome your feet. The silence listens. And though you carry nothing in your hands, your heart is full. You spend another quiet evening near the base of the lighthouse, listening to the waves' rhythm and the faint whisper of the wind. The light continues to shine, not outward in warning, but downward like a memory, as if searching the sea's surface for something it lost long ago. It reminds you of a gaze turned inward, or a person deep in thought, and you begin to understand that the lighthouse isn't only a structure, it's a keeper of secrets. Just like you, earlier in the day, You found a small door hidden behind the curved stairs, tucked away as though it didn't wish to be found. It was old, its wood swollen with salt and time. You ran your hand across its surface and heard a soft sound, not from the hinges or the wind, but from inside yourself. A tug, a gentle knowing. You didn't open the door then. You simply sat before it, listening. Now, under the veil of dusk, you return. The door creaks slightly as you press on it, and it opens with no resistance. Inside is not a room but a hollow, circular chamber with a glass floor that peers down into a darkness that isn't just shadow, it's something older. You kneel and look in. At first, you see nothing. Then, slowly, like the reverse of a tide, images begin to rise. A child standing beside a lake, waiting for someone who never returned. A person writing letters they never sent. A woman pressing her ear against a tree, hoping to hear a voice that once spoke from within. They're not visions of ghosts. They're memories that never found their way home. You realize the lighthouse doesn't just shine for the lost, it collects their echoes, keeps them safe, and whispers them back only when someone is ready to remember without pain. You sit, still, watching. Your own reflection is there now, surrounded by faint images of your younger self, searching, hoping, grieving, then forgetting just enough to survive. And yet, something inside you never stopped listening for the signal. You rest your palm on the glass. The light from above funnels into this chamber, catching the memories and bathing them in silver. And in that moment, you feel the light doesn't just shine to guide others, it listens. 2. You think of the keeper. You think of her voice, her comfort, her stillness. She never once pushed you toward answers. She waited, watched, and let the questions shape you instead. The lighthouse, it seems, was her language all along. Then you hear it, not a sound, exactly, but a sensation, as if the walls had exhaled. The room tilts ever so slightly, and a single stone tile at your feet loosens. Beneath it, there's a box, no larger than your hand. Inside, a locket, and within the locket, not a picture, but a scrap of paper. The light is not for the sea. It is for the longing that the sea carries. The moment lands gently inside you, not as a revelation but a release. You understand, finally, why you came. You weren't here to find someone, or something. You were here to return a part of yourself that never knew where it belonged. You close the box, but not the memory. You leave the chamber and climb once more to the top of the lighthouse. The wind is stronger tonight, but it does not unsettle you. The sky is open, like a page ready to receive whatever dreams you now choose to write. The light turns once more. It pauses, just briefly, to shine directly over the sea where the memory of your sorrow once drifted. And then it moves on, ever patient, ever searching, for the next soul ready to listen. You wake before dawn, not to the sound of waves or birds, but to silence, a silence so complete it feels like being held. There's a stillness to it, not empty, but full of presence. You step out of your makeshift bed in the keeper's quiet room. The air slightly chilled, the lighthouse humming low like a deep breath in sleep. You follow the winding staircase downward, barefoot, until you reach the base again. There, waiting, is the boat. Not a new boat, not one that arrived with fanfare or need for explanation. It's the same paper boat you once sent adrift. But now, impossibly, it has returned, larger, folded from sturdier parchment, its creases softened by time and travel. You stare at it, blinking, because some part of you never expected it to come back. And yet it has. The sea is calm, the horizon waiting like a held breath, and the boat rocks gently, as if to say, it's time. You step into it without questioning. The paper doesn't tear beneath your feet. It holds you like a promise, like an old friend saying, I remember where we were going. You sit, the boat moves, not from paddles, not from sails, but from will. The same current of longing that once carried your pain outward now pulls you forward. Gentle and certain, you pass the jagged rocks that once looked like threats, but now seem like guardians. The sea is no longer dark, it's clear. And under its surface, you begin to see them, whispers in the shape of light. Reflections of people who, like you, once let something go and trusted it would find the right shore. Faces of forgiveness, not pleading or sorrowful, but calm, grateful. And then you hear it. A voice, not outside, but within the motion of the sea itself. It does not speak in words. It pulses. You forgave. It doesn't say who or why or how. It doesn't need to. The forgiveness wasn't for someone else. It was for the part of you that needed it most. The part that carried shame like a shell. The part that wore guilt as a compass. The part that never believed healing was allowed without punishment. You let the words settle. No resistance. No rebuttal. Just receiving. The boat guides you to a place where the sea narrows and becomes a channel. Like a seam in fabric, you drift along it, watching the world shift around you. The sky lightens, not with sunrise, but with understanding. The water reflects your face, not the face of who you once were, but who you've become. Someone who allowed pain to soften instead of harden. Someone who let sorrow become wisdom. Ahead, the water deepens. There is a pool within the sea. A circle untouched by wind or ripple. At its center, a stone altar, weathered and ancient, as though made before memory began. The boat stops beside it. You step out. The altar holds no inscription, but you know what it's for. You reach into your pocket. The locket is there. You open it one last time, rereading the scrap of paper, though you no longer need to. The words have etched themselves into you. The light is not for the sea. It is for the longing that the sea carries. You place the locket gently on the altar, not as an offering, as a return. You have no need to carry what has already taught you everything it could. The sea does not respond with applause or thunder. It simply breathes. You return to the boat. And this time, the current carries you not away from anything, but towards something. Back to the lighthouse. Back to the keeper. Back to yourself. You arrive just as the first real rays of morning touch the cliff. And though the journey has not ended, it has circled in the way all deep stories do, bringing you home. Not to where you began, but to who you truly are. You stand there, wrapped in the silver hush of the wind, watching as the lighthouse continues to glow, not in commanding beams, but in a soft, heart-level flicker. It pulses not for the world to see, but for the few who need to feel it. And now, you know, it shines not because you're lost, but because you've begun to find something within yourself. The old lighthouse keeper, if he is a keeper at all, doesn't move. He remains seated in his chair, eyes closed, listening to the rhythm of the waves. You sense that he is both here and not here. Like the lighthouse itself, he exists more as a response than a fixture, called into presence by the longing of another soul. The book he gave you still rests in your hand. Its cover is now warm, as though it has soaked up the stories of the wind and the light. You trace your fingers along its edge and notice the final pages are blank. Not with omission, but invitation. You step back from the balcony, heart full and quiet. Down the spiral stairs you walk again. But now each step is not a descent, but a return. With every level passed, the tower echoes softer, as if the lighthouse is gently folding itself back into rest. The heavy door opens with a familiar creak, not startling, but like an old friend exhaling. Outside, the world has changed. The mist is lifting, not gone, but higher, gentler, like sheer curtains being pulled back to reveal a still sleeping morning. The sea, too, is calmer. It doesn't shout or whisper. It breathes. You follow the shoreline back toward the edge of the cliffs where the sand meets stone. There, just at the point where sea foam reaches your toes, you find the object you'd forgotten you'd lost, a small trinket from childhood. A wooden token carved into the shape of a moon. You'd once given it away. Long ago. To a friend who never returned. And yet here it is. Dry, clean, waiting. You don't cry. There's no need to. The wind does it for you. Turning it in your hand, you feel a sense of completion, not closure, but continuity. Some journeys don't end. They ripple. They echo in others. And now, this story, too, seems to be writing itself beyond the pages of the lighthouse book. As you walk away, the lighthouse dims behind you. Not off, just quiet, content. It no longer needs to shine for you. You've become your own compass now. The sand beneath your feet feels warmer with every step. The sea still murmurs behind you, but it no longer calls. It listens. You glance back one last time, not in longing, but in gratitude. The lighthouse, now just a silhouette on the horizon, winks with a final flicker of gold. You smile, and ahead of you, the path unfolds, not lit, but felt. A way forward that no longer requires light from above, only trust from within. You walk until the sea is a murmur behind you and the cliffs give way to a valley where time seems softer, where night doesn't fall. It settles, like a blanket drawn up to the chin of the world. The path narrows, not in warning, but in welcome. Trees rise beside you like quiet sentinels, their branches forming arches that cradle the stars. Every footstep is cushioned by moss and memory. The lighthouse is gone from view now, and with it, the ache of needing to return. You carry its glow inside you. You find a clearing, a wide circle of soft earth, lit only by the hush of fireflies. They dance like forgotten wishes, those you once made with your eyes shut tight, and those you were too afraid to voice aloud. Here, in this hush, they are safe. They flicker gently around you, not asking for anything, just keeping watch. You sit. The book, the one gifted to you by the old keeper, rests beside you. Its final pages still blank, but you understand now. They were never meant to be written with ink. Only with stillness, with breath, with sleep. You lie back and close your eyes. Not out of fatigue, but fulfillment. The kind of tiredness that comes only after carrying something heavy, and finally putting it down in a place where it belongs. And as you exhale, you feel it, the light, not as a beam, not as a blaze, but as a pulse, a warmth in your chest, in your fingertips, in the roots of your thoughts. It doesn't come from outside anymore. It comes from all the spaces you made room for along the journey, the space behind the silence, the breath between the waves, the hush in every unanswered question. It lingers, it hums, and as your breathing slows, the stars above seem to mirror it, twinkling not because they burn, but because they listen, to you, to everything you've whispered when no one was near. The fireflies grow still, forming a slow spiral above you, not in movement, but in presence, and you dream. Not of the lighthouse, not of the sea, but of a small boat on quiet water, its lantern unlit, yet guided effortlessly through the dark, because the one inside knows now. The light is not lost when it's unseen. It only goes where it's needed most. And tonight, that place is here,